Okay, the time has come, people. The time has come for the Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice review. And this movie has, in the last few weeks, been not just the most talked about movie, but the most discussed and the most, the biggest of the box office film in the last few weeks. So this is not just a review. No. This movie is so big in talks, not just in fan communities, but just in general, and people around the world in the past few weeks, that this is not just one review. This is three reviews. Okay, three videos. Okay, yeah. Basically, we're going to have our main feature, which is a review of the movie in the middle, but we're gonna bookend it with a re-review of Man of Steel for me, because I look back and, oh my god, my Man of Steel review is totally incomprehensible, and I feel like I can do a better job reviewing it now. And afterwards, we're going to have a discussion of what the box office reception means, what the future of the DC cinematic universe, what's going to happen going forward. And then we'll also talk about whether or not it's fair to compare this movie down the road to Captain America Civil War, since it's going to have potentially the same, a few same elements and plot points and so on and so forth. Okay, so we're going to start here with a re-review of Man of Steel. Hopefully I can get through this quick, but and it's not like a 40-minute video, but we'll see. Then I'll also kind of recap my final thoughts before I went in to see the movie Batman v Superman. Okay, so Man of Steel. All right, just to cut to the chase here, I originally gave Man of Steel 5 out of 10. I thought there's some redeemable stuff in there, and there's some stuff in there that that I kind of enjoy. But at the same time, there's enough in there to crush the movie down from being a moderately fun film into I didn't really like it. So I gave it a 5 out of 10 originally. That still stands. It's a 5 out of 10. But anyway, so we're going to start here with a little statement here. I know we're kind of cutting to what I was going to talk about later, but just to make a point here already, the stuff of people saying Captain America Civil War, you can't compare that to Batman v Superman and stuff. I think it's fair to compare the two, and let me make a comparison here. Is it? I said I think it's fair to compare Captain America Civil War and Batman v Superman, because I think on the same level of fairness, it's fair to compare Man of Steel to the original 1978 Superman. And to anybody who says that this new one, Man of Steel, in all respects, in every way possible as a movie, is better than the original 1978 Superman movie, well, hopefully we can. I'll bring up a couple examples, and we'll show that you're an idiot and an ass. Okay, but anyways, but yeah, for people who've been saying it's not fair to judge Captain America: Civil War to Batman v Superman, I'm saying, okay, so I guess it's not fair to compare Man of Steel to Superman the movie either. And at the end of the day, I'll explain more why I think it is fair to compare the two films, even though obviously Civil War is not out yet. Few reviews are in, but we might barely touch on that. But anyways, let's get back to what we're here for, and that's a re-review. Okay, basically, yeah, Man of Steel. At the same time that I say, yeah, there's enough in it to bring it down to a failing grade for me technically. There's still some stuff in here that I like. I don't know. Basically, just to start at the top, I said this I think I said this in the last review I did for it a long time ago, but I said right away we're off to a bad start because the visual design of Krypton looks terrible. It looks awful. I mean, it looks like Avatar and the Creatures of Avatar meets rejected 300 sets. I think that's coming to my mind as something I said earlier. But and just to compare quickly, when you go back to 1978 Superman, and you see Krypton for the first time, it's like these ice sculpture-looking things and crystal-looking things, and it's like, man, you have never seen anything like that before. Now, true, there's some movies that maybe have close designs to that have come after, but in '78, when that first showed up, people were like, whoa, what is that? That's like that's weird, that's alien to us. And I guess we're so exposed anymore that now, in order to see something as alien, we have to see weird creatures, we have to see super highly advanced technology. Well, then again, there is advanced technology in the original film, true, but not in the way that you had, robots that could shape shift and stuff. And back in that one, it was a weird diamond thing coming in, taking off criminals, whatever. And then you had crystal technology. You could put a crystal into the thing and it would do whatever. But that was, other than that, it looked like that was about it. Otherwise, just some futuristic costume design and stuff, and obviously, the weird architecture, of the place they were in and stuff. But otherwise, yeah, that's the only clues you got to it's an advanced civilization. Here, I mean, you have the shape-shifting thing, you have weird costumes again, you have alien-looking creatures, alien-looking architecture again, and totally green screen backgrounds. But then again, I'm not, let's just we don't have to complain about every last thing there, but yeah, the opening scene, yeah, it drags on. There's, for me, okay, some people kind of like the opening part with Zod, and he's trying to start a mutiny here, but I don't know. I mean, other people have made the point, and I'm going to concur with this point, and that is the opening of the movie already shoots itself in the foot with the Kryptonian Council or whatever, and they're like, we don't want to evacuate. It'll cause a panic and all that, and Jor-El's like, but we have to, if we want to save the race of our people, we have to, get some people off the planet. And he says there's like probe ships and stuff that we sent out. I guess they still have a few ships there. Why don't we just, take those out and fly off to a near base? We sent off stuff years ago. Maybe they're still alive. Maybe they're waiting for our help. And if we bring supplies, we can help them and then also rebuild our civilization on a new planet. But of course, they don't get to that. Instead, they want to get to the mind-numbing action scenes right away, and start with this weird mutiny, which makes no sense at all when you think about it, because evidently, and we're not flat out told this, but we're assumed to believe that Jor-El and Zod are kind of equals in a way, and that they're familiar with each other. It's not like, who are you, when Zod walks in, and then he says, I am General Zod, blah blah blah, whatever. But evidently, Zod kind of knows that Jor-El knows something and that he wants to evacuate the planet. So, and we learn later that Zod's role in this civilization, whatever, is to continue the civilization itself, do everything he can to continue the life of Krypton, and then we later see to restart Krypton and all that. So what's his plan when there's an obvious way for his people to survive? Let's take over the planet that's about to die. Yeah, that makes total sense. Anyways, but it gets a little worse from there. All right, yeah, so then what happens is, all the events go down and stuff. Jor-El gets killed, Kal-El, his son, gets sent off, and there's this stupid codex thing which doesn't amount to jack shit for the rest of the plot, with the exception of being kind of a MacGuffin in a way, to get Zod there, but anyways, whatever. But anyways, yeah, Jor-El dies, whatever. Zod gets kidnapped or not kidnapped, arrested and all that. You get what I mean. And he gets faced before the council, who are still doing their legal procedures and stuff, even when they've been warned by Jor-El just probably a day or two earlier. We don't know how long it takes in between, but presumably a day or two earlier, that we need to get off this planet, we need to do it now. And what do? They just keep doing their legal proceedings, say, Zod, you and your compatriots, or compatriots, however you want to say it, you have tried mutiny or whatever, and we're going to send you off so you can survive and be a villain later. Bye-bye. And then, they send them up into penis-looking spacecrafts, which is, okay. Anyways, but as many people have also stated, here's the thing. Now, this is just me, but I would have written it way different. Way different. How about you have the Kryptonians be smart, and you actually show that Zod's a cold, heartless villain for once? And, we can go back to that thing of he's the future, he has to save our civilization, and that's his job and stuff. We can go back to that later. But, okay, so here's what I would have done. If I was the screenwriter, if I was the David S. Goyer of this movie, well, first of all, there'd be a couple things I'd change before that. But okay, basically we have to get to this point still, because Zod has to end up in the Phantom Zone, or he has to or something. He has to end up surviving, and he has to, come back later to be the villain. So here's what I would have done. I would have said, "Hey, Zod, we're packing, getting out of town and stuff. But you caused this mutiny. You know what? You want this planet so bad, you can have it. We're leaving." And then everybody that they can get, they pack onto ships, and they send him off. And Zod gets so pissed because now he'll have nobody to lord over and no way to continue his civilization with just this small amount of people on a dying planet that he goes off to some kind of weaponry or something and blows everybody up. Kills all the Kryptonians except his followers or whatever. And then he kind of, in a fit of rage or something. Like he doesn't have enough of those later, for those of you who say, but that doesn't make sense. No, he has fits of rage throughout the whole movie. Watch it again. Come on. Anyways, but yeah, so then he kind of, and then he gets off the planet just in time or whatever with, maybe one or two ships left. And yeah. And then he kind of, has to, reflect on what he's done, and then he kind of comes to terms and says, you know what, there's a way we can continue the civilization. Let's go find that codex thing, which is the essential whatever. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, so then, of course, one of the big things I think I complained about earlier, too, in the first review was all the jumping back and forth in the times with the growing up of Clark in Kansas and all that stuff. Now, if you've watched all my earlier stuff, or a lot of it at least, you get what I mean when I say I want things in chronological order. I really don't like it when movies have to start in the middle of the movie, show a scene, and then go back and say what happened before this. There have been movies that done that I absolutely love. One of my favorite movies of all time, American Beauty, does that. And then, and it doesn't add up to anything. It's just a way to start the movie without starting it at the beginning, which I don't get. I don't know why people do that. Just play it from start to finish. That way we can have, unless the script really, really calls for it. I was thinking recently, Steve Jobs is a movie that came out, and there's a couple of moments here and there where they're in the middle of something, and then they'll kind of do a quick 30-second or maybe a minute long little flashback scene, and especially in that movie, there's a scene where he and Jeff Daniels are kind of duking it out, trying to figure out their problems and arguing and stuff. And the way it's written in the scene in '88, something happened back in, I think it was '84 or '85, that ended up with Jobs getting fired from Apple or getting tossed out or whatever. And if they had played that in chronological order, then it wouldn't have made any sense for Jeff Daniels to be there, and that scene wouldn't have even needed to existed. But at the same time, you can't lose that scene. That's a really important scene, and it shows Jeff Daniels at his best and all that. So it depends on how you do it. And here, I think it would have been way, way easier to just do this thing in chronological order. Just show him, okay, yeah, he gets to Earth, he has troubles adapting and stuff. We learn his father and his mother are kind of trepidatious about him going out to the world and showing everybody his powers. Fair enough. That's the way they did it in the original movie, too. And speaking of everything being better in this movie than in the original, go back to that Jonathan Kent death scene in the first movie. Even though, yeah, there's people that'll call it silly now, it is way more believable and way, way better than the one in Man of Steel. I mean, first of all, the one in Man of Steel is so stupid and one of the most easily survivable situations I've ever seen. But Kevin Costner's just being a stuck-up prick and saying, "No, son, let me die. I know I have 45 seconds to get away from this tornado, and I'm limping. I can still move, but I'm only about 20 feet away from safety, and I can get there before the tornado hits me. But I'm just going to stay here because I don't feel like living anymore. It's time to die. Goodbye, Clark." Anyways, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. Why didn't he just do that? And instead you got this bombastic scene with all these special effects and stuff, as if we haven't seen enough of that already. And yeah, it's stupid. In the original movie, it's really hard to stop, unlike that. And Clark himself could have gone out there. If it's 20 feet, all he has to do is nonchalantly walk, and he'll get there in time. And he doesn't have to show the world that he has super speed or then he's Superman or nothing. Nothing. Instead, he just lets his father die, and yeah. That was like basically that's not Jonathan Dent or Jonathan Kent. Why do I keep saying Jonathan Dent? That doesn't make any sense. Basically, that's not Jonathan Kent, having a tragic death. That's Jonathan Kent saying, "I give up on life. See you later." It's basically a suicide. Oh my God. Anyways, but yeah. How about that original scene? Instead, Clark and him are, they have a conversation about, hey, let's, you're on this earth for a reason, and it's not to score touchdowns, it's not to show off your ability that explicitly, He's not saying let children die, but I actually don't have a problem with that. I might get to that in a minute here. It's him saying, you don't have to show off all the time. Anyways, so then, yeah, the Clark's like, hey, come on, let's race or something. And then, his heart rate gets up too high or something. He has a heart attack. And he's holding his hand. He's like, oh, no. Just something as simple as that. Oh, no, instead of, oh, hey, let me go get the dog. Oh, hey, let me stay here and die while you can perfectly save me, No, no, no. And then he collapses and he's pretty much dead. And there's nothing that Clark could have done to save him in that case. Because in that rate, Clark, if you watch the scene, Clark is a good 50, maybe 60 feet away from him, and he's in a building, a barn. He's in a barn, and he has to run to get to within distance to see him. There's really nothing he could have done. And Man of Steel, there's a lot he could have done. Anyways, but yeah, and then even the funeral scene after that is really touching because Clark's like, all these powers, all these things I can do, and I couldn't even save him. And it's his vow to, show, in a way, say, I won't let this happen again. I won't let this unhappiness come into people's lives again. I need to, figure out who I am, and, and that's when the crystal calls to him and everything. And I need to do this, and not, and try to not explicitly, show off my powers. Instead, Clark pretty much leaves his family behind to become a drifter in Man of Steel. Anyways, yeah, so this whole thing of he lets the kids die, Jonathan wants the kids to die in Man of Steel. This is actually something I do not have a problem with, actually. First of all, it's actually one of the most endearing moments of the movie for me because, I don't know, maybe I just, Kevin Costner is actually cool, at it, with the exception of, like, The Postman and stuff like that. But anyways, it actually felt like he had a meaningful conversation there with Clark when he's talking about, for a second there at least, I know it was a brief scene, but he's like, you got to keep this side yourself a secret, and you can't, kind of the same with the old movie. It's like you can't explicitly show off your powers like that. And then, Clark says, "What am I supposed to do? Let all the kids in that bus die or whatever?" And then Jonathan says, "Maybe." And I feel like, okay, that's a point you can go to, but then immediately the film detracts from that and goes off to, "Hey, let me show you your little Kryptonian ship you came in." No, you have to keep going with that. You have to say, he says, Clark, he could say, maybe. That doesn't mean yes, though, Clark. That means, the line should have been written something like maybe, but that doesn't mean yes, Clark. That's not a yes, maybe. That's a maybe as in, maybe there was a way you could have done it without, without explicitly doing it, maybe you could have, I don't know, and then he says, well, anyways, what you did was the right thing, but we just have to be careful. He gets, something like that, I'm not just off the top of my head here, so I haven't planned this out or anything, but anyways, yeah. So then there's that and there's that. Yeah. So yeah, eventually we get to all this stuff with Superman being on the deadliest catch and. Pretty soon an oil rig goes kaplooey and all that, and there's a little line that bothered me actually, and no offense to the fishermen out there and stuff, but like the captain of the ship's like, man, looks like they're not going to make it and stuff. He says, Greenhorn, he's talking to Superman, fetch me my binoculars. Fetch me my binoculars. I don't know if any fishermen would say, fetch me my binoculars. It's just a little thing, but anyways. Yeah, all right. Okay, yeah. So then we see Superman go in, save him, and all that, whatever. Um, I don't know. It felt like at that point, if they had played it out chronologically, okay, we would have seen at that point Superman, for as a child, he has to get used to all these different things going on. He sees things more than more than other people do. Has X-ray vision and all that. And then he has to deal with, the struggle of not showing off his capabilities in front of everybody. And then he has to deal with the death of his father, and then we get to that point, so that after he decides, you know what, screw it, I'm going to save these people. And yeah, then he does it, and then he's, sitting there in the water for a minute, looking like Jesus, which, obviously comes up again. But other people have criticized that and said what they have about that, so I'm just going to mention it, just to mention it. But anyways, and not go too far into it. But at that moment, I'm like, man, that would have been a great moment if it played out chronologically, because then it's like, okay, Clark, he's kind of halfway decided, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do everything I can, without trying to explicitly be seen, and save the people who need to be saved. I've seen my father die. I've seen, what could, I've had nightmares about what could have happened if I had not intervened with the kids on the school bus thing. I don't want to see that happen again. So, at that point, I think that would have been much more powerful and a much better scene than just an awkward transition, which leads from one big action opening to another action scene in the opening act of the movie. Anyways, and then we get to the Lois Lane when she comes in and stuff. Oh, I forgot. How about that stupid scene where he takes the guy in the bar or whatever and just takes all the abuse that he gives him and then smashes his truck because, oh yeah, nobody's gonna notice that. But anyways, yeah, and yeah, other people, like I said, other people have criticized this movie up and down. And yeah, sure, I'll give him that. That's just that's kind of stupid. A cool visual and stuff, but I think it would have needed a little more explanation than it did. But anyways, like maybe if I was writing this again, I would do a thing where, okay, Clark says, "Sir, how about we take this outside?" Throw back to Superman 2, and then, he kind of says, you can't, he says, that's mean. You can't, because he was harassing a waitress before that or whatever. And then the driver, truck driver, who's, probably tipsy, says, screw you, man, or something. And he says, you can't do nothing to me. And he says, and then Superman can say, oh, yeah. And then he, he says, which truck is yours? And he's like, he kind of drunkenly says, the one over there, the red one, or whatever color it was. I can't remember. Then he's like, I can't hurt you. Boom, smashes it or something, and then runs away or something. I don't know. Even though it would have still arrived at the same criticism at the same time, it would have I don't know. I would have thought that would be fun. And it would have been a little moment of levity in there. And I feel like the film Man of Steel, and of course when we get to Batman v Superman, that's one of the big criticisms is there's no levity. It's so serious and all that. Man of Steel is pretty serious too. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so let's get back. Yeah, so Lois Lane and all that, she discovers his little fortress of solitude, and she's on assignment there for what reason again? I don't know, because the plot needed her to be there. Okay, yeah. And then, so then she goes back and pretty much reports that aliens are among us and stuff. And Perry White, her editor, says, we can't print that. Do you know how serious that would be for us and all that? And and so on and so forth. They keep going with this, and then pretty soon Zod shows up again, and he says, surrender Kal-El to me within 24 hours and all that. And then so what does Superman do? Yeah, he surrenders and everything. And actually, this middle part of the film, I actually was like, you know what? They're actually starting to get back on track here. He has a couple of conversations with his mother, and Lois and him have a little bit of a conversation where you finally start to see at least a tiny bit of chemistry between these two, even though it's brief. At the very least, it's a tiny bit of chemistry. And I'm like, okay, this is actually getting to be not so, as compared to, what people, what a lot of people say is they absolutely despise it. I'm like, see, this is a point where I say, okay, yeah, this is not bad. And then we get to the Kryptonian ship again. And here comes another plot hole. Two, actually. And one that I pointed out earlier, which for some reason nobody else likes to talk about, but and another one that many people have. Actually, isn't it kind of 2.5, kind of on the border of being 3? But anyways, let's get to it. Yeah. So then Zod's ship shows up, and this movie's Ursa, who's not named Ursa, says, okay, let's take Superman and that woman, who she means Lois Lane. And the army lets Lois Lane get on the ship. And at the end of the day, there's no reason for her to be on the ship. They don't do anything to her except lock her up and let Jor-El's ghost or whatever set her free, which is stupid. Okay. But anyways, yeah, I would think the army would say, okay, we don't really care for this guy, Kal-El or whatever. He's an alien. He's one of your guys. You've promised to destroy our planet if we don't surrender him to you. We don't have a problem surrendering him to you, because if he has, we're gonna, shove him in the right direction and say, hey, save the planet. You're a resident here. Save us, and but instead they're like, oh hey, there's this little obscure journalist, at least in the, maybe she's popular in Metropolis or whatever, but that's where they're at, is not Metropolis. Here's this obscure little journalist who happened to be along for the ride. Let's let the aliens kidnap her too. That's stupid. I mean, seriously, I don't think in any way, shape, or form, unless the dialogue had continued and said, we need this woman or else your planet's going to die. Unless they had said that, which I remember the movie didn't say, I believe. The army and everybody would have done everything in their power to say, you know what, she's only one person, but she has no reason to go on your ship. You have no reason to, to use her and all that. Just have that guy, Kal-El, and leave us alone. Yeah, simple as that. And they wouldn't have given up on that either. So, anyways, until they had warned, okay, then we'll kill you or whatever. But still, they don't need her. So I don't know why. Anyway, so yeah, then Zod gets to meet Superman and all that, and right away he makes the stupid ass mistake of showing Superman what they're gonna do, and reveals to him his whole plan. Why? You know that Superman's been on this planet for all of his life. Why would you show him the death and destruction that you're going to cause? Why not say, okay, Zod, you're going to explain to Kal-El that he has a codex in him, or whatever. They don't know that yet, but, there's a codex and they need it from him. Okay. Yeah, like I said, they don't know that it's in him, embedded in him or whatever, but they know that he has it. It's on the planet somewhere. How about you just ask him where it is and say, and show him in your visions or whatever, and where they had how they set it up and all that. They said, hey, let's show Kal-El not what is going to happen to Earth, but what's going to, how the rebirth of Krypton is going to happen. And show, the civilization started over again. All the buildings and all the people walking around. And he says, Kal, you'll no longer be alone. We'll have you with us, and we'll be here, you'll be here, the rest of the civilization will be here. We need the Codex because that will start up our civilization again, and everything that was Krypton, your homeworld, will be off to a flying start again. And yeah, Zod could have done this on Mars. He could have done this on, whatever other planet. Venus, one out of our solar system, whatever it was. One of the moons of Jupiter that actually is inhabitable. All that. You could have done that easily, but instead Zod has to make the stupid-ass mistake of saying, oh no, we're going to do it right here because I don't give a shit. Yeah. Do you think that Superman's going to be more cooperative with you in telling you where the Codex is, which he doesn't know he has or whatever, by showing, by telling him that Earth is their target planet and all that? That's stupid. That's absolutely stupid. Why would you do that? That's stupid. Why would you do that, Zod? You're a moron. Anyway, just show him the aftermath. Of Krypton rebuilt. Don't show him the destruction of Earth. And then Superman, can wake up and say, so he says, so how do we get here? He says, what has to happen for this to occur or whatever? And then Zod could say something like, yeah, we have to build the foundation on something. and he says we've searched all the solar systems we can and all that, blah 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 blah, and and then you can come up with some other reason for him to pick Earth, or maybe something happens where he says we're going to go to this other planet or something, and and show that we can rebuild the civilization. But then at the last minute, he kind of says, you know what, you remind me of your father, and your father was an idiot, an imbecile in the end, and he could have warned them sooner and all that. And he can kind of say, as punishment and as as the continuing of the civilization, we're going to choose Earth, or something. To come up with another reason that's not so plainly obvious as it is. But anyways, we're going to run into that plot hole anyways with the way this whole story is set up. So anyways, yeah. So then Superman. He's like, obviously I got to stop this guy now, no matter what. If he's a Kryptonian or just an Earth guy, whatever he is, doesn't matter. I have to stop him. Okay. Yeah, so then Lois Lane is, presented with the Jor-El ghost, who kind of navigates her to an escape pod or whatever. And actually, yeah, a lot of people kind of call that scene good. Yeah, it's a good scene. It's kind of fun. And, finally, yeah, something, is kind of fun and different in the action sense happening. Instead of just, Superman punching people or Superman rescuing people, now it's, one-on-one shooting matches. And that's kind of cool in comparison to, what we're going to get later. But, anyways, so eventually she escapes in the escape pod. But first, Jor-El says to her, there's a way for Zod and his bad guys and all his friends here to get sent into the Phantom Zone, or in this case, sent back to the Phantom Zone. He says, "Here's how." Cut to whatever's going on. It's not on camera and all that. So, so then she escapes and everything, and Superman saves her and all that, and he has a quick word with his father and whatever, but yeah, and then he saves her because this pod's going crazy or something. I can't remember what the excuse was, but another Superman has to save Lois scene, which, okay. And, so he manages to escape, gets past all the Kryptonians and everything, saves her, and gets to the ground. And immediately, what does she say? She starts bickering, she starts blabbing about something that's totally irrelevant. And instead of saying something like, "Hey, your dad just told me something really important, how to get rid of these guys. Here's how." No. Instead, she lets that go and forgets about it. My God, did they need, and then they follow it up with, a 10-minute action scene, which, okay, I will give, whoever can explain to me how the 10-minute Smallville fight advances the plot further in any way, somebody tell me that, because I will give you a nickel, over the computer, sure, whatever. You get what I mean. I will pay you to tell me how that advances the plot of the movie, because it doesn't. All it is an excuse for Zack Snyder to show us them fighting for 10 minutes when we know we're going to get that at the end of the movie already. Oh my God. But at the same time, I have to say, while what they did film there on that fight there in Smallville, despite all the product placements and everything, some parts of it are pretty cool. And, as far as action scenes go in these superhero movies, it's kind of unique to what we've seen previously in some, the Marvel movies and other Batman iterations and stuff. We hadn't seen it to that level yet of, super punching and all that. But anyways, but let's start with that whole thing of, okay, so Zod comes down, finds out somehow knows where Superman has grown up, and says the Codex must be here. Where's the Codex and all that? And then Superman, instead of just, landing there at the house or whatever and saying, Zod, the Codex is not here, or whatever, let's take this, let's try to talk this out or whatever. And then Zod can say, no, whatever. And then they start fighting, whatever. Instead of that, Superman goes off, flies into him, and then smashes into silos and all that, blows those up, possibly killing people. We don't know that there weren't people working at that plant or whatever it was. And then they blow up basically all of Smallville. Again, maybe killing some people, maybe injuring some people, maiming some people. And Superman doesn't give a shit. Instead, he's more focused on, don't do that, my mother, and all that. But yeah, it's one of the worst acting moments in the movie, actually, is that scene. Anyways, but yeah, again, we get a 10-minute fight scene, which, while it's fun to watch, doesn't advance the plot in any way, doesn't tell us anything we don't know, with one exception, that Zod realizes, okay, if I take my helmet off, it's kind of weird, and the X-ray vision and stuff kind of kicks in and all that. But yeah, so yeah, that's it. It's one small detail that you could have taken care of 10 minutes later, or 3 minutes later if they'd skipped the entire scene. Anyways, but yeah, it's a 10-minute scene that just adds to the runtime. And the movie is almost 2.5 hours long, and it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. Okay, yeah, so then finally Lois gets the balls to mention to Superman, hey, your father visited me and told me a way to get rid of the Kryptonians, or whatever, of the bad guys. And then they finally do that, just as Zod is getting ready to destroy the world and all that. And then we get that, a boring, for me it was boring at least, a boring scene of Superman fighting the Kryptonian Death Smasher, or whatever the hell that thing was. What did they call it? World Engine, there we go. And, yeah. He's like, yeah, he sends one in the Indian Ocean, so Superman has to deal with that before, at the same time sets it up in Metropolis because screw you, Superman, there's no other place we could have put it. Whatever. And here, well, I don't know if I want to get into this now, but okay, yeah, let's get into it now. All right. So we later find out in Batman v Superman that Gotham City and Metropolis are this close to each other. That there is just a small body, a small river or something separating them. Okay, so as we learn in the opening to Batman v Superman later on, it's not like Bruce Wayne is out of town. True, it's daytime, and true, it's it's not customary for Batman to show up in daytime. But you're telling me that across the river and could later potentially threaten your city, something is out there. And you're not gonna do jack shit about it. You're not gonna, try to save your city, and in further, you're not gonna try to save your planet's, your planet's way of life. And I've brought this up to people who, later on said they love Batman v Superman. And one of them said, well, Batman, without, I asked them this question earlier when I found out about it. And they revealed it before the movie came out. But I asked somebody this question. They're like, well, Batman wasn't prepared for an alien invasion. Okay, you just really dinged Batman then and his reputation, because you're telling me that Batman is not going to do anything when his city, his civilization, his way of life is being threatened, if it's daylight out even. You're telling me he's just going to sit by and die as this alien invasion or alien attack or whatever goes on, that's only like a mile away from him. He's not going to do anything? Really? Really? Yeah, that's what I thought. You have nothing to say to that. Okay, but then again, this is something that is technically a Batman v Superman complaint. So, Man of Steel, they weren't, they didn't 100% know what they were going to do in the future anyway. So that's not necessarily a Man of Steel complaint, but just something that, while it's happening, we'll take care of that now. Okay, yeah, so then we get, for me, the Indian Ocean fight thing is just boring. All it does is add to the runtime again. Maybe stuff happens from it later on in the next movie, but, that's not necessarily important. Instead, we get all the, things coming out of the thing that attacks. Boring, blah, 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 special effects. Anyways, but then, yeah, we see this thing. Okay, cool. This thing has a thing where it goes, boom. Okay, that's kind of cool to see a few times. And then, and then we get, a big 20-minute scene of that. And then, and then everything solves itself with the Kryptonians. They figure out how to send them back to the Phantom Zone or whatever. And then Zod is left behind. And Zod has, kind of now almost acclimated to Earth conditions or whatever. All right, so then he and Superman have a big 5-6 minute fight scene that was, and we see again that Superman doesn't give a shit about buildings getting destroyed, innocent lives being maimed, and all that. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants to fight Superman. Now, Here's the thing: a lot of people, I think, have dug really deep to try and defend this. And probably the biggest defense I've heard of this is, well, Superman's only been Superman for a short time. Okay, cool, yeah, but at the same time, he's smashing into buildings. You're telling me he hasn't figured out how to stop his momentum at any time? I mean, okay, there's a scene earlier, actually one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because it was something that we didn't really get in the original movie, was him learning how to fly, him kind of figuring out, oh, he has he can kind of super jump, distance a little bit, and then he finally figures out how to fly, and masters that and everything. So at some point, obviously, Superman would have learned how to stop his momentum so that he can stop flying and is not constantly flying everywhere. He would have learned how to stop himself and how to halt his momentum. You're telling me he doesn't know how to halt his momentum, a couple days later after he's had more practice with this and after, and now that he's, endangering people's lives by potentially smashing into buildings and all that, he doesn't know how to stop himself? Yeah. Basically, what I equate this to is Zack Snyder and company basically saying, okay, let's up the damage level here and boom, let's make boom, 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 big explosions, and knocking down buildings and blowing up buildings. Those cause big explosions. Yeah, that's all he wanted. He's basically the Michael Bay of the superhero universe right now. Anyways, yeah, that's I think that's what happened. It's not a case of setting this up for the future. No, no, no. They just wanted big explosions and big crumbling buildings all the time, just to make their superhero movie look a little different than the rest. That's all it was, folks. Not a big plan later that, oh yeah, later we're going to resolve this and show that Batman's pissed off. They didn't plan that in 2012 when they were shooting the movie. And not in 2011 when they were conceptualizing the movie. No, no way. Okay, yeah, so then we get to one of the more controversial points of the movie, where, of course, Superman has to kill Zod. Now, again, a lot of people complain that what happens is easily avoidable. Okay, sure. But we have to just go off what the movie gave us. And what the movie gave us was a quandary for Superman. He has to he has to say, okay, either these innocent people are going to die because Zod's going to laser him to death or whatever, or I have to, shove him off or do something to him. And he knows that eventually either Zod pretty much at this point can't be contained. He's like a super warrior and all that. So either he has to kill him or he has to, or die himself because, he's weaker in comparison. How they did it was there wasn't really a huge alternative there, but because the family was pinned up against a wall, so they can't go that way. Laser's coming this way, they can't go this way. Yeah, so yeah, okay, yeah, I'm kind of fine with that. Plus, for the briefest moment, it looks like we're going back to that argument again of Jonathan Kent's, which is, you need to be careful with all these powers because, cracks his neck and stuff. And then something I kind of thought about. I was like, when I was seeing the movie for the first time, I was like, damn, he just killed one of his own kind too, and his friends just banished all the rest of them to an eternity of imprisonment. Assuming then that in a way Superman, who explained it, and it's a way of almost saying it's a genocide on his part. Maybe that's going a little too far, but he has killed one of his own kind right now. He's killed a Kryptonian, and some could make him responsible for what happens to the others, who are basically going to die eventually. And so what does he do? He gets down, he yells, ah, because he's all pissed off and all that. So mad that he had to do that and all that. And he just killed one of his own kind. And that this is something where I'm like, okay, finally this movie can get, or not finally, but this movie can have, okay, a little bit more of redemption here. Okay, so let's say this. A lot of buildings just got destroyed. Half Metropolis is in ruins. I can't be Superman all the time because this is what happens. I can't control myself, evidently. And I just killed this person and all that. And even though, yeah, he was a bad guy and he was going to destroy the planet and everything, there's still going to be those people out there who say, you killed, you're a bad guy and all. The real world has people like that too. Don't worry. But but yeah, so then, okay, I finally see, okay, so this is how we're going to set it up. So he realizes, okay, I can't be Superman 24/7. I need to take this seriously. I just killed one of my own kind. A lot of people are probably going to blame me for everything here because I brought them here, technically, since they wanted this codex thing or whatever. And, you know, they're going to blame me. I just killed one of my own kind, and I'm to blame for all the destruction that's happened here. Obviously, Superman is a pariah. He could be a pariah. Sure, there's going to be some people who are on my side who say, yes, I did stop him. Yes, you know, I helped them send the rest of them back to where they came from. But not everybody's going to think that, you know. I should just lay low with Superman for a while, you know. I should just lay low, get another identity or something so that I can stay with Lois, because I love Lois now, because that's forced. A little bit forced. I mean, sure, we showed a little bit of chemistry here and there, just tiny hints of it, but I don't know if they go into full-on boyfriend-girlfriend by the end of that. I would, yeah. They weren't full-on boyfriend-girlfriend at the end of Superman the movie. Okay. Just saying. But, anyways. So what's the next scene? The next scene is that, right? Him confronting Lois and saying, Lois, I can't be this Superman, this Man of Steel all the time. I need to have, something else to do here. Maybe somewhere where I can keep my ear to the ground. I think he says something like that later on in the movie, I think. But says somewhere where I can read about, all the travesties that are happening around the world, and I can pick and choose where I want to show up and redeem myself from what I've just done. No, that's not the next scene at all. No, that's never brought up anywhere, really. I mean, with the exception of, keep my ear to the ground, hey, let me be Clark Kent because that's the way my character is. No, instead we have a freaking dumb scene of him smashing a satellite down because, oh, I don't want people watching me or whatever. And then they pass off everything that's just happened by having them make a joke about Superman's hot body or whatever. It's, come on! Seriously, you built up something there. You were building up momentum to a conclusion that would have been very satisfying, where we see, okay, so this Superman is not going to be the wholly, anticipated figure that he was in the original. Okay, I'm fine with that. You can change stuff. I get that. But instead show him as this, controversial figure who, okay, yeah, we're kind of proud of him, and glad that he's here when we need to be. When there's stuff going on. But at the same time, we have to remember what he did. We have to be careful of him. No, they throw all that away, and he says, no, screw everybody. I'm Superman. I can save whoever I want. And yeah, I'm not responsible. Seriously, that's almost the way it sounds. Oh my God. What a terrible, terrible ending that is. You just throw away all that momentum, all that buildup, all that emotion there in a throwaway line like that. Stupid. So totally stupid. And then the movie's over, thank God. Yeah, so like I said, it's 5 out of 10 for me. There are some dumb things in this movie. There's some kind of easily seeable plot holes. And there's, probably some I didn't even mention either. But at the same time, there's some cool redeeming stuff in here every once in a while, And it's something where, I've only seen it twice now with the rewatch, but that's, it's something I might revisit in the future. Who knows? There's, like I said, redeemable stuff. Like Henry Cavill, I kind of, after the movie kind of started and he was actually Superman for a while, I was like, you know what? Maybe in a better movie he can be a really awesome Superman. And, as a performer, I think we've seen, in other movies I've seen, like Man from U.N.C.L.E., we show he's got a little charisma there as an actor. So I think he can be an awesome Superman once they get him in a good Superman movie and in a good movie, period. In the DC universe or whatever, fine. I think he can be a really great Superman. Now I don't think he touches Christopher Reeve, but yeah, mostly everybody believes that. But okay. Otherwise, the cast is hit and miss. Like Amy Adams as Lois Lane is okay. I mean, I mean, at the end of the day, she doesn't really mean much to us, and but at the same time, she's Amy Adams. She doesn't completely phone it in all the time. I actually really like Michael Shannon as Zod. Maybe I'm alone on this, but I actually like his performance. You know, even if it's a little yelly sometimes, a little overdone sometimes. I like how it's kind of different from the more calm at times and collected at times Superman 2 version of Zod. And and yeah, Shannon's one of the best out there. I mean, come on. He's Michael Shannon. He's got an Oscar, one or two Oscar nominations. I think it's just one, but you know, he's got an Oscar nomination for a reason. You know, they don't just nominate you for no reason. He's a great actor. You know, Kevin Costner. Yeah, I didn't mind him as Jonathan Kent, and Diane Lane. I think, or is it Diane Ladd? No, it's Diane Lane. I always confuse those two. Diane Lane. Yeah, she's fine as Ma Kent. You know, even though those two aren't the most important characters. Fishburne's, you know, doesn't really amount much as Perry White, but he's not given anything to do. And you know, and then Russell Crowe, he's fine as Jor-El, and the rest, yeah, everybody else is kind of minor, but those are the main stars. But yeah, overall, yeah, I think it's okay in a way, but at the same time, not okay enough to give it a good rating. Like I said, 5 out of 10, but it's okay. You know, every once in a while I might rewatch it again. You know, there's some fun parts in there. There's some good elements there, but they just need to fix a few of those plot holes, and they need to have an actual ending that's good, and not do the jumpy editing thing. I'm sick of that. I hate seeing that. All right. Okay, so that's that. This went on way longer than I thought it would, but it's kind of good to get a better review out there than what I had, I think. Okay, yeah, so let's quickly do just a quick thing on my final thoughts before I went in to see the movie Batman v Superman. Now, I didn't see it opening night, I didn't see it preview night or anything like that. I actually saw it, I think it was the Thursday after it had opened. So it was within the first week of release, but it was Easter weekend, and you know, I like to hang out with my family, and I like to not be in a theater on Easter weekend. Plus, it was March Madness, which yeah, I got totally involved in this year. Anyways, but I was like, you know what, I can wait. Now, when the reviews started coming in, man, there was some stupid shit going around on the internet, like stuff like, oh, this is proof that Disney and Marvel are paying off the critics. Bullshit. And I don't even need to go into a whole rant about why you're so full of bullshit, you stupid, yeah, you know who you are. Come on. And half of it's trolls anyways, but still. It's stupid that anybody would buy into that. It's ridiculous. Yeah, and then you know, and everybody said, "Oh man, the movie's doomed," you know, whatever. And then actually, like I said, I didn't see it opening weekend. So then the opening weekend numbers came in, and it makes, you know, what was it, like $166 million or something? That's really good. That's in the top 5 or 6 or 7. It's in there. Opening weekends of all time. That's awesome. You know, good for them. They made money on this, or so it would seem. You know, we'll see about that later. But yeah, I mean, and then people were like, "Oh, see, it's great. It's great. All the critics, they're out of touch. They're stupid." No. Come on. Basically, what I have to say, okay, basically, if I want to sum this all up here, basically, I think, now I don't know this for certain, because I don't know every person on the planet that would make a statement like that. But let me say this. I will bet you every dollar I have that all the critics that you're talking about, collectively critics, have seen more movies than you have. They have. I am almost certain of it. I'm almost certain of it. And if you're a true cinephile who sees every movie he or she can, I would like to believe that you would know the difference between, you know, a stupid statement like critics are getting paid off, and and something like, well, maybe I don't agree with the critics all the time. Because I think that's basically all it was just fanboys getting on the bandwagon already and saying, you know, because they know that it's going to be a great movie. But anyways, yeah. Yes, then the movie comes out, it's a $166 million opening, and you know, so on and so forth, that happens, and then, you know, and then we'll get to what happened after I saw the movie, and the further box office reception here and everything, and the ridiculous amount of money that this movie has to make before it breaks even, according to the studio reports and stuff. But But yeah, I went in and I said, okay, and I want to make this very clear here before the review. And okay, let me just preview the review a little bit by saying, no, I did not give this movie like a 1 out of 10 or a 0 out of 10 or nothing like that. No, I actually gave it a similar rating to Man of Steel. But here's the thing. I did not walk into this movie to hate it. And I think that's something that if you make this stupid statement of the critics are getting paid off, no. Any critic or any moviegoer in general who is worth their salt does not go into a movie to hate it. They might go into the movie with low expectations. They might go into the movie with high expectations, and and the movie doesn't live up to them, or they go in with low expectations and they meet them, whatever. But and all that. But here's the thing. I want a Batman v Superman movie to be successful. I want it to be great. I want a great movie every time I go to see the movies. Every time I go to the cinema, I want to see a great movie. I don't want to go to the theater, pay money to see a movie that's not worth jack shit. Okay? I don't do that. If I go to see a movie, I have to I have had to have seen a preview for it, or it's in my wheelhouse of movies that I've liked, or it's a director I like, or something like that, or it's a pairing of actors that I really like. Something has to sell me on the movie, and just the idea of a DC with the superheroes they have, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, all the rest of them there, Flash and the rest, of a universe starting with them, and for them to have that alongside the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is continually going strong. I like that. I don't understand this whole Marvel versus DC war where you have to, where the Marvel fanboys say, oh, Marvel came first, therefore we only can have Marvel. No. There's no law. There is no law in Hollywood that says that when one cinematic universe starts, that's the only one that can happen. No. Anybody who makes that claim, you're stupid and you don't know what you're saying. The people who say we can only have one, can or want. You have to decide that. If you only want one cinematic universe involving superheroes, Marvel was there first. Maybe you like Marvel characters better overall, and you're just not a DC guy. That's fine. But there's stupid trolls on the internet anyways. But I just want to address a few of these points because I know there are actually people out there who believe this, and who do give all the Marvel movies zeros and give all the DC movies 10 out of 10s. Anyways, but yeah. I did not go into the movie saying, oh, I hope it sucks. No, I went into the movie saying, okay, the critic reviews, at this point they're down to like 31 or 30% or something. I'm like, okay, the critic reviews are really bad for this. And not every fanboy of comic book movies that I've seen the reviews of or heard their reactions to, not all of them gave this a standing ovation exactly. But still, that doesn't mean that I can be in the minority here and like the movie. That doesn't mean automatically that I have to fall in line and hate the movie too. It might be good. That's what I said to myself. I said, it might be good. It might still be good. Maybe everybody else is wrong on this one. I mean, I'll admit it, there's movies that get like 10% on Rotten Tomatoes that I actually find funny. Benchwarmers. Okay, I said it. That's a guilty pleasure of mine. I was like 10 years old when that movie came out. I was in baseball, and I was a benchwarmer. That movie meant a lot to me when I was 10 years old, okay? All right? I was 11 when it came out. Whatever. I was young when that movie came out. I was the perfect age. I was in baseball at the time. That movie came out. It shows benchwarmers and benchwarmers getting revenge. It empowered me a little bit, okay? I can keep that as at least a guilty pleasure, even though I know, now that I've and grown a conscience a little bit, even though I know that movie has no place on being on a list of good movies anywhere. I know that in my heart. But in my heart of hearts, I know that this movie did at one time mean a lot to me. A lot to me. At the time when I first saw it, and saw it a couple more times after that. We all have those guilty pleasures. And I said, you know what, maybe Batman v Superman will be a guilty pleasure for me. Maybe I'll like it a lot. Or maybe I'll just be okay with it. And that's better than the reviews are getting right now. So, okay. Let's do this. The lights go down, And the movie begins.